Invincible did it yet once again. They really cooked up a 10 out of 10 finale. The animators simply cannot miss. So we immediately start off from the last episode where Conquest pulled up to Earth and tried to exterminate Mark. But dog, the finale really had 10% dialogue and the other 90% was straight boxing. Because Mark and Conquest start off by having an insane clash in the middle, which literally causes for people to start flying left and right from the gigantic blast. And all you could hear was people screaming for their lives. Man, what a terrible day to be outside today. But Mark and Conquest then start leveling each other out until bro gets hit with a mean headbutt, grabbing Mark by his neck and then crushes him straight into the rubble. But bro, look at how huge of a dent that single attack from Conquest just caused. This man is really 96 years old and built like The Rock. I already knew this was not gonna be an easy fight for Invincible. So Conquest then tries little broing Mark, but he said, "Get your hands off me." And you could just tell that Conquest felt that kick on that punch. He did not know a 17-year-old could smack him that hard. But Mark was not playing around because he instantly body slams Conquest through all of the infrastructure throughout the city. And bro, this fight only started like 30 seconds ago and these two have already caused Avengers level property damage. Like, I don't even think Bob the Builder himself can fix this right here. So Conquest brushes that light attack off and then goes right up to Mark and starts gripping the life out of him like how Darkseid was doing to Superman. And dog, this man Conquest is not normal because he was fiending for Mark to punch him as if he enjoys getting beat up, talking about "I want more." Like, Conquest, you need to find a job. I know dang well the Viltrumites are not paying you anything for this. Mark then hits a clean 3-piece combo on Conquest, sending him flying back, making him hit a mathematical equation. And then this man Mark proceeds to say that was just a warm-up, and that's where I knew we were about to get a Dragon Ball Z level fight, as Mark then rushes in to hit a vicious left followed up by 2 menacing right hooks. But this is where Mark starts cooking up because he takes Conquest into the air, then grabs his leg, smashing his ribcage, and then Mark takes Conquest so high into the stratosphere that they reach the clouds. But Mark said, "I can go even higher," as he then charges up a crazy right, which sends Conquest to outer space. Like, okay Mark, I see you out there putting in that work. We love to see it. And y'all would expect Conquest to, start yelling in pain from that diabolical combo from Mark. But nah, this man Conquest was geeked out of his mind like he's Gogo from JJK. Did I say Gogo? Cause he literally blows a blood bubble to Mark and then he shapes it into a heart. Like, ew, dog, what the heck? This gotta be the zestiest villain I've ever seen. He really came to Earth just to troll Mark and do this?
Weird, buddy. You're weird.
But Mark somehow gets distracted because Conquest double punches him in the gut and takes Mark flying downwards to planet Earth like a cannonball. As both fighters then start tussling with each other in mid-air until Mark finds a sweet spot and gut kicks Conquest, putting these two right back into neutral position. And I can't even lie, Mark is doing very well right now considering that this Viltrumite is apparently stronger than Omni-Man himself. Like, I was not familiar with your game, Mark. I do owe you an apology. But Conquest turns the tables around real quick by landing a devastating right jab, which knocks the sonic rings out of Mark Grayson, literally his glasses getting destroyed and even sending Mark crashing right down into a building and into the rubble. And bro, you know it's bad when even Mark's whole family was watching this beating take place live on the news, knowing dang well that they could not do anything about it. But you guys already know Oliver was ready to run that fade, talking about that place isn't too far away from them. Like, man, I'm starting to like Oliver because this gotta be the most W brother I've ever seen. He's always ready to put his life on the line for Mark on every occasion. And please hit that subscribe button because we are so close to 100,000 subs, bro. Please. And my boy Mark was still feeling the impact from Conquest attacks as he then starts coughing up some Kool-Aid, but then literally out of nowhere, Mark turns around just to get absolutely curb stomped into the Earth's hemisphere. And this punch went so crazy that even I could feel that absolute massive blast. You must have thought Rod Wave hopped onto the Earth the way it had buildings falling to the ground like this. But then we pan over to Oliver and even he knew it was time to speed up because that boy Mark was simply getting washed out there, getting put in an actual blender because Conquest was clocking Mark so hard that he went tumbling and falling across multiple cities in the span of 15 seconds. But Mark was getting fried so badly that he started begging for Conquest to stop the beating mid-fight. Just stop, bro. I gotta tell you something. But Conquest really said, we do not care. As he starts choking the crap out of Mark for the second time this fight, holding him up like a World Cup trophy and then slamming Mark into the pavement. And yeah, that boy Invincible, he got cooked. Like, nah, someone call up Omni-Man right now. He's probably in Cancun with Alan sipping on some coconut water while we literally have normal civilians out here on one leg suffering all because Mark Grayson is a fraud. Like, we gotta remember, Anissa really wasn't wrong when she said that a perfect life form was gonna come to Earth and wreak havoc. And mind you, the Guardians of the Globe are at the Michael Jackson concert, so there's nobody coming to save Mark now. But then out of the blue, my boy Oliver comes in with a clean uppercut, sending that man Conquest out of the frame. Like, oh yeah, I was actually so hyped when I saw Oliver pull up and save Mark. But then this kid gets a little too confident and proceeds to get slapped off of the ground, knocking the taste out of Oliver's mouth, and then Conquest starts dangling him disrespectfully. Hey little kid, why are you purple? Mark then suddenly hits a mean karate kick, making Conquest tumble around like a ragdoll and makes him eat straight dirt. But that man Conquest brushes that off like some baby food, hitting a clean IG flick. Like, bro, I promise you, we see the fit. And what we also do see is that atrocious hairline. Buddy, who is your barber? Fire him immediately. And that grim look on Conquest's face should have been a clear flag for Oliver to get the heck out of here, as Mark then gets tackled and booted straight into a building. And then Conquest starts giving Mark that Broly treatment, gripping his head like a Spalding basketball and even eviscerating some buildings in the process, followed up by tossing Mark into a car. Like, dog, I almost want to look away from my screen. That's how badly Mark is getting whooped right now, and he's the main character, like tee up. But Mark then finally manages to land a brutal headbutt, giving that boy Conquest some CTE, and that man's controller must have disconnected because he lets Mark land a cool 50 punches on Conquest for free, hitting him over and over again.
Finger licking good special. That's what I'm talking about.
Until Mark then gets his punch blocked by Conquest, and he tells him that he's gonna have to try way harder than this in order to defeat him. But meanwhile, we then switch over to Eve at the hospital, and she seems to be recovered from her previous injuries from last episode, and she sees Mark getting beat up on the news. And her only option is to go in and help save him, as Eve then suits up in her superhero form. Like, man, finally you woke up. We need some help out there. But Conquest then starts treating Mark in the worst way possible, making him collide through a bunch of buildings and then proceeds to slam Mark to the ground using only one arm. Like, dog, ain't no way this y'all go right here, and he's getting done like a side character because he tells Mark it's way too easy to conquer this planet, as he then sends him across the street. But then Conquest starts yapping in the middle of the air in front of his face, but he follows up by using Mark as a literal surfboard and rides his body until he crashes into a bus. Like, man, I think we're all at a loss for words right now. I haven't seen anyone getting violated to this extent. But then out of nowhere, Oliver kicks the daylights out of Conquest and comes in clutch once again. But Conquest was literally not phased a single bit. But this old man is a psychopath, because look at what he says to Oliver, bro.
I'm gonna split you in half and eat your heart. How's that sound?
So then Conquest pimp slaps Mark away in the most disrespectful manner, and then he clocks Oliver right in the face, making his tooth fall out of his mouth. And man, it only gets worse from here, because then Conquest proceeds to tear Oliver's body apart like some Kit Kat. Like, dog, I'm not even sure if I can show this on here because this was absolutely violent. And mind you, Oliver is like 9 years old and he's doing this to a little kid. Like, Conquest is truly deranged in the head. He needs to be stopped. But Mark sees Oliver about to get ripped apart, and he was not gonna let this slide, as he then speed blitzes Conquest, but he gets countered with a punch. But Mark returns the favor, smacking away Conquest into a distant building. Like, yeah, these two are really squabbling out there now. This might be one of the greatest animated fights of all time. I do not care. This is peak boxing. Yo, tell Debbie Oliver is alive, and we're sending him to the hospital. Yeah, I don't know if he's alive after that, to be honest, dog.
When I came down.
So a few minutes later, we then see Conquest take Mark on a little joyride across the water, and this man literally gives Mark the Omni-Man treatment and catches like 100 bodies on the beach while moving at the speed of light. But then he drags him to a bunch of different locations and keeps murdering a bunch of people for literally no reason. Like, dog, what did they even do? That was genuinely so unnecessary. Bro was literally a mass serial killer. Conquest makes Omni-Man look like a law-abiding citizen. But this was definitely Mark's canon event, and he was about to snap on Conquest as he then hits him with a ferocious left haymaker. And yes, this is exactly where our girl Eve comes into play with a robotic leg. Like, she can't even walk right now and she's ready to throw some hands. This is what you call a W friend right here. Get away from him, you animal.
I was like, it's about to go down.
So Conquest then rushes straight in at Adam Eve, only for Mark to start hugging him like a bear, telling Eve to get away from this and leave all this fighting to him. But we can clearly tell that Mark needs any help he can get at this point, because we've seen him getting straight cooked for almost 15 minutes straight. But Conquest then lands a fatal chop to Mark's leg, which had some Kool-Aid come out of his body and had Mark screaming and holding his leg, as he then instantly starts falling back to ground level, which leaves Adam Eve in a one-on-one isolation with Conquest. As Adam Eve then traps him into a tiny little ball using her abilities, but that don't work, as Conquest claps right out of it, and then we pan over to Mark, and bro is quite literally on his last leg right now, and the best he can do is watch. Yeah, it's really not looking good for the heroes right now. But Eve then activates this superpower we've never seen before, transforming herself into the next Iron Man, and I can't even lie to y'all, this suit right here is hella tough. But this squabble was on sight, as Eve then stops Conquest's punch by increasing the density in the air somehow, and even pulls out a hammer and begins smacking around Conquest like a baseball from every angle. Like, hold on Adam Eve, you might be the strongest in the entire Invincible verse. Like, why didn't you use these powers before half of Earth's population got wiped out?
You idiot. You're honestly an idiot. I don't know what's wrong with you. And your ego is pissing me off.
So Eve puts up some rectangular force fields, but that boy Conquest starts breaking through them with minimal effort one by one, until Eve then traps Conquest's head in a ball and then uses 2 spikes to deal some damage on him. And Eve really started feasting. She started cooking, because she started sniping Conquest with a bunch of projectiles for like 20 seconds straight, and that boy Conquest was lost in the sauce. He did not know what was going on at all. But then Conquest returns the favor by headbutting Eve's face shield wide open, then takes off her whole suit, and this is where tragedy takes place, because Conquest lands a brutal right hook, and then bro literally rips out her entire chest with a single arm. Like, they genuinely did Eve so dirty, as she then starts slowly floating to the ground with Mark coming to save her body, hitting the
My Shayla! My Shayla! Congratulations!
And Mark was tired of taking L's in every single fight, and you could just tell bro was about to go berserk on Conquest, tears dripping, nose and mouth broken. That boy Mark was ready to catch a body. As both fighters rush in and proceed to break each other's arms, and that man Conquest was shook, but Mark gave him absolutely no time to yip yap, as he starts clobbering Conquest, hitting him with all types of combos. But that did not last long, as Mark starts getting his body squeezed with maximum force, but he had a trick up his sleeve, because he bites Conquest and rips some flesh out of his body. Like, ew, Mark, you're a freak for that one. Where the heck did you learn that from? But Mark and Conquest then start brawling it out in mid-air, exchanging blows like it's a DBZ Sparking Zero match, and then we pan over to Eve, and she's entering the Avatar state. Like, I honestly don't even know what to call it. But Mark then starts losing focus and then gets choked right to the ground, and then we get this bone-chilling speech where Conquest tells Mark that he's lonely and he has no Viltrumite friends. Like, okay, bro, are we supposed to care?
Please, Pete, I need this. My mom is kind of homeless.
So Eve then proceeds to blast the mess out of Conquest, making him get beamed point blank from her attack, and she had this man with no skin remaining, looking like he's a titan from AOT. As Conquest somehow starts rising behind Mark, and he said he's not going out without a fight. And at this point, Mark just starts going insane on Conquest, beating him to a literal pulp. But then bro counters by breaking Mark's hand, and he's left with no hands to punch Conquest with, and there's only one option left, which is to headbutt the crap out of Conquest multiple times repeatedly. And oh nah, Mark is a menace. He's really giving Conquest the Levi Angstrom treatment. But hey, I don't blame him. Conquest had to go. He was a real threat to humanity. Well, I guess you guys can say Mark is finally